Title Talk with your host, Drew Wishover, entrepreneur, published author, and owner of Inspired Title Group, along with his co-host and director of operations, Amy Maley. Each week, the team will offer industry terminology, tips and strategies, along with the occasional real estate professional to help educate as it pertains to buying, selling, or just plain old home ownership. We thank you for spending time with us today. Now, let's join this episode of Title Talk. Welcome to Title Talk 2.0. I am Drew.
I'm waving.
That's waving Amy over there.
Morning, everybody.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Title Talk. We were supposed to have a guest today, but we're going to push that back a little bit.
Yes.
And instead today we're going to kind of talk about what's going on in the industry. Obviously there's been a lot of news and current events, and we're going to talk about some things in the title insurance industry that will probably be helpful for you guys to understand. You know, some terms and things that you have. Are we doing okay on the sound there, young Ryan? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. So Amy, you want to say hello to the audience?
Hi, audience.
That's what.
Yes. Hello. Happy early St. Patrick's Day to everybody.
Ooh, that's
I had a
St. Patrick's
really
Eve?
fantastic green sweatshirt on to show everybody, but I remembered I can't wear green because of a green screen.
Yes, the green screen.
So I
does
was a
knock
floating
that
head.
out.
So
You were a floating. Oh yeah, your arms were gone.
I was.
Yeah, good.
I had
Good luck.
nothing. I was sitting like this. So thank you so much for everybody for tuning in to spend some time with us this morning.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Well, why don't we just get right into it here,
Okay.
and let's talk about title insurance and
Mm-hmm.
what it is and why people need it, and
Yeah.
kind of just get into a little bit about it. It's really one of the easiest things investment wise. I mean, it's one of the most important investment ideas.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
That we need.
Yes. I think it's one of those things that people ask the question, is this really necessary?
Mm-hmm.
Just like, pet insurance.
Right.
Because
Right.
nobody.
Right. Now you don't need that. No.
And then, you have.
Thousands and
Backstory,
thousands.
yes.
That might be too soon. I think that's still too
Two
soon.
beautiful little boxers at home that both have pretty big surgeries in the last,
my.
6 to 8 months.
Holy cow.
So why would you ever need pet insurance? For that. But, home insurance is something that people will often ask, why do I need this?
Right.
It's one of those insurances that protects you from the past instead of the future like most insurance does.
Mhm.
And you don't need it till you need it.
Absolutely.
So-
I mean, it's true. I mean, it really defines if there's any kind of judgments, liens
Mhm.
on your property. It really just helps protecting your ownership and making sure that you took ownership correctly.
Yes.
That the entire process has been transferred and done for you correctly.
Mhm.
And it's people don't think about it.
No, and there are a lot of horror stories
There are.
that come. People lose their homes, or they get stuck with huge legal bills because of title issues. It's just a risk that it's not a good risk to take. Don't take it.
No, and I mean.
Like we do so many things in the background of houses. We look up chains of title to make sure that every transfer that happened how it should happen. We make sure that if there's any city, village liens, judgments on there, everything gets cleared for you before you buy a home.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's super scary to just think about, those things that could happen. And, we've been around long enough and we've seen it happen.
You've been around long enough.
You've been close enough to being around long enough to have it happen.
I mean, like double digits is when you're like,
It is.
you're really,
I think that's-
don't put it on me yet. It's
I
like,
think that's fair. You're on 8, you've got a couple more to go. But I mean, the thought of losing your entire investment, losing the entire home because the transfer and things were, I mean, it's not a situation that we really want to,
No.
put anybody in at all.
and you will hear some people, I feel like, some people will say it's a waste of money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Don't do it, it's a waste of money, your house is fine. So we're gonna spend just a couple minutes to debunk the myths that title insurance is not necessary.
Yeah, and we hear it and we get them a lot. There are a lot of naysayers out there, and
There's some fantastic stuff.
I mean,
Stay tuned.
the reality of saying that it's a waste of money and those things, it's really just crazy. But
I think one of the bigger questions that we see or we get is, because I'm building a new home, I don't need the.
That is one of the
title
biggest times you need it.
For, it's new construction, what can go wrong?
Besides, like, a mortgage from a builder, besides unclaimed mechanics liens, like,
Right.
there are so many things in new construction. And the other hard thing is, like, when it comes to new construction homes, a lot of these times is when your legal description is actually created. Because, like, if you think about it, you have a big lot of land at some point, right?
Yep.
So these are the times where they actually they give you a PIN, a property index number for your lot.
Right.
They define your lot.
Right.
Title insurance protects that land, that lot.
Right, absolutely.
New construction, you need title insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
And what if there's mechanics
you
liens?
said it right. I mean, what is a mechanics lien? I mean, those folks that are building your house, if they don't get paid, they can file a claim against your property, because that's where they work.
And there's so many subcontractors, like,
Right.
think about everything that goes into a new house.
Right.
Any of those people, if they do not get paid their money, they can put a lien on your house that if you didn't get title insurance, you would be responsible for paying.
Right, you wouldn't be covered, so I mean, it definitively protects, that process and that path. I mean, it's really all about just, again, protecting that investment.
Yeah.
Another one, I guess, is.
Don't take mine.
Go ahead, go.
You only need title insurance if you have a mortgage.
I laugh just because, so I guess you probably have to back up and maybe give them a little bit of,
Okay. Yes, so when
the
you,
two.
there is a thing called an owner's policy and there's a thing called a loan policy. So if you're buying a house with a mortgage, a lender will not let you close on your home unless you purchase a lender's policy.
Yeah.
What the lender's policy does, it protects the bank and their mortgage. Make sure it's in a first lien position. There's nothing else that could come before it if, God forbid, you default on your mortgage. Flip side, the owner's policy protects your investment in your property.
Right, and
You
you
need it. Get it.
Yeah, I mean, the lender is not gonna they're not gonna lend you money without doing it.
No, they will not.
So they wanna make sure that they're in first lien position. They also wanna make sure that your property isn't encumbered by anything else that could impact their ability to collect if they had to on that loan, right? So if you were to default on that loan, if there was another mortgage ahead of theirs, they'd be, SOL.
Yes.
And so realistically, they're not gonna lend you money without having a lender's title insurance policy in place. Whereas the owners, like Amy said, it's specific to you, it's not homeowners insurance. And that gets into my next myth of people thinking that it's ridiculous, it's expensive, it's crazy.
So much money.
And it's really,
I wanna save my $2,300.
exactly, it's the best spent insurance that you're gonna buy.
Ever,
Right? And-
except for dog insurance.
And we don't say that because this is the business that we're in. That's not at all. I think that realistically, we have seen and been part of some of these horror stories.
There's some scary stuff that can happen.
Truly.
Yeah.
And, knowing that it's a one-time fee that you pay right at closing and it's done. It's not something that's gonna recur every month. It's not something that's gonna take and protect you, everything that's gonna happen today going forward. It goes behind you. So that is just to say, hey, here's the complete fee for all the work that was done behind the scenes to get us to this point to say, you, John Q. Public, own that property free and clear, and we are gonna ensure that it was done correctly.
Yes.
And the rightful sellers had the right to sell it to you, and all of the encumbrances and liens that were present on title have been cleared
Yes, and title insurance is a one-time fee,
one time.
and you get that insurance until you transfer the property out of your name.
Mm-hmm.
So it travels with you, it could last for 75 years if you live in the house for 75
Yeah.
years.
Now, be careful. So.
Owner's policy.
Don't misunderstand, she said it travels with you. It doesn't mean that you take it with you to
Any
every
house you
other
go to.
house.
Correct.
It travels with you as long as you own the house.
Yes, it
So-
travels with your,
Right, the present ownership of the
Yes.
house. Yeah, exactly, and it just wanted, because they,
yeah.
that's another question that we get is,
well, I just bought a house 2 years ago and I bought title insurance,
exactly,
so
I'll just
it's
take this
good,
one
right?
with me. No, it's specific to that.
It's
that
tagged to the
individual house.
property. It's like
Correct.
this Pacific.
Pacific, yes, it is very Pacific to that property.
So what else is happening in the universe?
Wow.
I don't know if this banking thing.
Yeah, I think really this industry of real estate, and I'll just kind of
Yeah.
bring it up to that point is, if you have been watching the news, if you've been paying attention to anything that's going on in the world, you've probably heard that there were two very large banks that have defaulted,
Yeah.
and they've collapsed. SVB, which is Silicon Valley Bank out of California, and then Signature
Signature
Bank
Bank, yep.
was the other big bank that had wound up folding.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that wonder how that impacts this business, and then maybe even what does that mean going forward?
Yeah.
So maybe we can touch on
Yeah,
that a
so
little bit.
one of the weird things that, just like looking at mortgage rates over the last handful of days, because this first one happened on Sunday, I believe. Friday and Sunday maybe it was?
Yep.
Um,
Nothing over the weekend.
so the mortgage rates, were at 7.03%, went down to 6.53%, back up to 6.75% in the matter of like days. So what does that mean for the future? I don't know. I really don't know what it means for interest rates. People are assuming that it's gonna be, hopefully try to study them out a little bit around this.
Yeah, there's definitely some
6.5%.
uncertainty
Yeah.
in the market. When you see volatility like that and it happens that quickly where it's up and down, that's indicative of volatility. And, a certain place of going, all right, I don't know where it's gonna really end up.
Yeah.
And even speaking at the numbers of, 5, 6, up to 7%, I mean, it's certainly higher than it's been, but
Right.
those aren't
It's not.
tragic numbers.
Yeah.
And those shouldn't be prohibiting you from,
Correct.
getting out there. However, what is slowed would be the
Inventory.
inventory.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I talk to my dad, because I'm in the process of looking for homes, home browsing, and my dad will go back in my day, in
Oh,
1980, when I bought 12% interest rates.
Yes.
So he's like, Amy, when you see this 7 number, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
So I guess what I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit is when turmoil happens in these industries, there's always a way that we combat what's going on.
For sure.
So as far as title insurance, I wanted to talk about a CPL a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's
How
a
fun
great.
is that?
I think it's a great segue to what this is.
Yes.
And the importance of it. So,
Yeah. So started around in the 1970s. CPLs, they didn't become regulated at that point.
No,
The
not at
first
all.
kind of CPL, which stands for Closing Protection Letter, they are fees associated with a closing, where there's a lender CPL, a buyer CPL, and a seller CPL.
That is correct.
So this has made part of the industry to protect the involved parties from title insurance, from the title companies mishandling money, pretty much.
That is a very true statement.
A very true, very to the point statement.
Yeah, I mean, it is really an insurance offered by the underwriters that really will be able to further protect. So let's just kind of give a scenario. If you're buying a house and it's $250,000,
I
your
wish.
owner's policy is going to cover that value of that $250,000. The loan policy is going to cover the value of the amount of money that you borrowed to buy that $250,000 house. Okay, now, the CPL, what is that really going to then cover
Exactly.
for the process? So, if there are any misappropriations, or if there are any human errors that take place, if there are anything as a result of the transaction, the title company, the agents, the attorney, the parties that are involved, as a result of the parties involved, if there's any damages that would be impacting the borrower, the seller, or the lender, they're protected through an insurance offered by the underwriters to handle this and make sure that all the things that were supposed to happen are going to happen, whether it be a fraudulent catch of your money. We hear it, we see it, it's in the business. So, does it come at a cost? Yes,
But
but,
$50,
exactly.
$25.
It's literally not worth it.
And I'm not just saying that number.
It-
Depending on the state, you'll have anywhere that range from $25 to $50.
So, you know, and it insures the transaction, it offers insurance up to $2 million. So, I mean, it's something that was implemented when the crash of the market happened in 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's when they actually became like a regulated part of a closing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is now, in Illinois, a mandatory piece of the closing. Like, a lender is not going to, again, they're not going to issue you a loan
Yep.
without title insurance.
Yep.
And they're not gonna have their mortgage recorded without the CPL.
Yeah, it's one of the it's one of their funding authorizations, it's one of their, when they
They'll see it.
request title, it's, a CPL is on every single list. So
Yeah.
it's like, you cannot move forward with this transaction if your title company does not
Yeah.
issue a CPL.
Right, it's, so, at least it became one of the very few things in the state of Illinois that's regulated is that, the need for the CPL. Now, in Indiana, what happens in Indiana? Do they use it there?
Mm-hmm, they sure
There
do,
you go.
they sure do.
So, it's been something that is company-wide, industry-wide,
Yeah, I pretty much
adopted
would,
as part of the closing process.
and even since we started working, in the continental US,
Mhm.
that's a charge that I see on
Mhm.
every file, Arizona, California,
Yeah.
these CPLs.
So you might hear that you're paying for a closing protection letter, or you're paying for a CPL, or what happens if. There are other coverages afforded you. In going back to kind of tying this to the conversation about the bank, the FDIC insurance is up to $250,000, okay? So realistically, if those folks had, or let's say us as a title company, if we deposited the escrow funds for your transaction into SVB, and SVB collapsed or failed, all right, the FDIC is gonna cover it up to the 250, right? The CPL letter through the insurance from the underwriter is going to protect the rest of that transaction.
So whatever that difference is between that 250 up to that 2 million.
So, yeah, obviously, circumstances
Yes,
apply. and
exactly,
there's-
exactly.
There's conversations around that, but yes, that's, again, the reassurance that insurance provides. And so when people speak to, title insurance companies are wealthy and are rich, like the underwriters and things, if you read their balance sheet, if you read like their losses are pretty great.
Yeah.
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 So yes, you look at the premium and you're going, well, these things are never gonna happen.
Yeah, but,
So, yeah, they're not as frequent as some other things, but when they do happen, they're not little expenses.
Correct.
Right? It's not a couple few dollars, we're talking about hundreds of thousands. So the loss that is incurred or endured by the individual that a title insurance policy would pay out on is incrementally larger than some of the other insurances that you pay for. So the closing protection letter really does kind of allow a level of comfortability to kind of, that closing process. It covers the
It's
title
natural
companies
protection
and the
fees,
teams.
yeah.
And it's just, again, it's another step of this process that people don't think about, they're maybe not aware of, but we wanted to kind of just address it and bring this to, light for you guys to kind of say, hey, these are things that can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the industry. What else are we doing?
what,
else
I
is
was gonna
going on?
ask you, what's new with you?
So I wanted to kind of talk quickly about an opportunity that has presented itself for me in what we're doing in accordance with this whole wonderful title insurance piece. And Inspired is always doing different things and getting involved in different areas. And the announcement of us being national this year, exciting. Doing these community events, continuing, exciting.
Yes.
We're going to touch on that here in a little bit. I have now had the opportunity to doing my own podcast. That doesn't mean that I'm, leaving this one or leaving
I've
me
been
alone
replaced.
on this piece.
Oh God, you don't want to see me alone on here. Oh, that'd be scary.
I think actually,
I'll be doing cartwheels and fun because that's my go-to when I.
it might just take this thing off. Who knows? But realistically, I have been kind of asked to doing another show, which now I'm going to be doing a podcast that is called Inspired for Success, which will be done through the Amplified Network on LinkedIn. I do a show every Thursday at 3 o'clock. It's a half hour. Tune in. It's a really inspirational, and it allows me to kind of get a little bit deeper and talk a little bit more in depth about success, what that looks like, because it's different for everybody, and everybody has a different idea around it.
Was the first one Tuesday?
The first one was.
It was this week.
I'm sorry. It's every.
Well, it was this week. It is.
Yes, it is every Tuesday.
It is every Tuesday.
Sorry.
So that was the first one you've done.
It was.
So if you're interested in he kind of gives a really good breakout of his story and why he's doing this podcast. It's a half hour, it's an easy listen, so if you were kind of wondering a little bit more about this,
Yeah.
make sure you hop on LinkedIn on the Amplify Prosperity Network and take a listen to it.
Awesome, thank
Yeah.
you, appreciate that. So
Of course.
we'll have some links in here into the, as we post this, we'll put some links on how you can kind of connect to that.
Yeah.
But, log on, watch it through Facebook, watch it through LinkedIn, share it out there. We are definitely, I'm gonna be having guests on that one. I may even have the Director of Operations from Inspired on there at some point too. Because again, it's really about
That's my green shirt.
stories. And I think, yours is a good one in what you
Appreciate
kind
that
of
too.
developed through this and your growth. I think it's a good time for you maybe to start talking about that and,
Yeah.
and really, recognizing it. So I'm excited about it. We are doing a lot of different things with the Amplify Prosperity Network that I am now on the board of, that I got this happened so quickly.
Snowball, yeah.
And, we're doing some different networking events
Mm-hmm.
where we're doing roundtable events around topics and doing mindful pieces and mashups and.
Yeah, it's not just real estate, it's
No.
life. It's so many different business people talking about what they do. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
It's what we stand for as Inspired, is building relationships and getting into the community and developing something that is greater and bigger than us.
Mhm.
And finding a group of people to do this with was pretty interesting
Yeah.
and exciting, and I'm glad our paths have crossed. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as it kind of evolves. So
Cool.
I appreciate the
Yes.
time to plug that. And,
Absolutely.
certainly tune into that.
And as far as Inspired Title, we have our give back,
We
our March give back coming up next Tuesday. We had Mel on Title Talk last week.
Amazing.
So if you're
Amazing.
interested in hearing about Almost Home and the Stone Soup Kitchen and kind of how we're teaming up with them, make sure to listen to our Title Talk episode from last week. It's great. She is fantastic. I could not even put into words a person who was meant to do something. Mel was meant to be a part of Almost Home. So
Yeah.
we are going to be out there on Tuesday serving
Yeah.
up some dinner.
Absolutely. Tuesday night, we'll probably have some pictures to show, some videos to share, and these are just events that really just warm our hearts. And getting to see some people that we haven't seen, we made some really nice connections
Yeah.
with some of those folks, and you kind of it brings a smile to your face just
It does.
knowing that we touch these folks enough for them to call and thank us, and
Oh yeah,
looking forward to seeing us again, and we get to see these friends again.
I'm really gonna try to
It's-
have a dance class.
I mean, you mentioned it.
I know,
You asked
I'm gonna bring my
yeah,
speaker and
you
see
asked
if
them
we
about
can-
doing it, so, so we're continuing that piece. We're still collecting for the Guild House
We
men's
are.
clothes.
So my grandma just had a surgery she got out of.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah,
she's
grandma
out.
made it. The Guild-
80, what?
88.
88 years old, the lady goes in for a surgery and says, yeah, go ahead, take out.
Dude,
do what you gotta do.
she's a rock star.
She's tough. She's
Guild
tough.
House, so my grandma volunteers with the Guild House. Guild House sent her a
Nice.
fantastic edible arrangement that she's been
Oh, that's
knocking off the last
outstanding.
couple days. And it's cool how everything's kind of interconnected. It makes me very happy. They sent me a message on Facebook just about how Cookie's one of their favorite people and they're so grateful for what we're doing for them. So it's just
Out to you, Cookie. Thanks
you love you,
for
cooks.
this idea. This is great.
very cool.
Doing something, to again, make an impact and make a
Yes.
difference to some people. It's men's clothes.
Men's clothing, and we're also, we have a change jar in front that
Okay.
we can either donate that money or give it to Cookie, and Cookie goes shopping and drops them off.
Cool.
Groceries
Awesome.
too. So we're
Awesome.
collecting change, we're collecting men's clothing.
Awesome.
Yes.
So that event is still going on. We have some other events that we're planning for April.
Stay tuned.
Whew.
We're not telling you anything.
It's moving.
It's
and
coming.
It is coming along here, yes. So I'm good, man.
Yeah, you have something else to go do.
I got another podcast to kind of be on and be a part of, which
And I get to go do some titles.
yeah, you know what though? This is what we do.
It
This
is.
is why we do it. And if you guys could do us a favor and maybe share this and pass this along to some of your family and friends, get this out there and really, help us grow what we think is something that is going to be very, very positive and helpful for a lot of people. And I think the more you believe and trust in us and what we're doing, the more things we're going to actually go do and show you that yes, you put your faith and trust in a good spot. So as always, you can get a hold of us and reach out to us if there's things that you guys want to share and talk about. We'd love to hear from you guys. Definitely contact us. We're here for the community, and you guys are our community. So until next week, my name is Drew.
And my name is Amy.
We are your hosts for Title Talk. We thank you guys for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe. Take care.
Well, there you have it. That is it for this week's edition of Title Talk. Be sure to head over to our Inspired YouTube page and subscribe and like. And make sure you follow the team on Instagram and Facebook. Join us again next time for more tips and knowledge from the industry pros. Thanks again for listening.